Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Check, check, check. No checks, cash only, please. Checking the audio. Good evening. Hello, hello, hello. Check, check, check. Sounds like we could use a little bit more volume. Let's turn that up just a touch. Check, test, 1, 2. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Well, that's kind of in your face. 1, 2. Check, check. All right. That's not too bad. Good evening, all, and happy Valentine's Day. From snowy Idaho tonight, we'll run over to the chat and see who all's in. And I hope everybody had a great week. Not too bad around here. Got a haircut and a beard, trim, but I'm not going to get a real job. For those of you that might have known George Thorogood, I think he did the song Get a Haircut and Get a Real Job. Anyway, looks like Gary D's in. He's camping at Saddle Mountain. That's not very far from home, Gary. But good on you. Tim's out in Ohio where it's windy. We got about 8 inches of snow today. It snowed all day long. Just light, really light flakes. It was in the mid-20s all day, so that generally makes the snow pretty dry. I ended up having to shovel twice today. I know, wah, 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 the smallest violin in the world. And I forgot these. Just a minute here. So now maybe I can read. Perfect. EJ Weiss checking in. Hi, EJ. He's out there in New Jersey. Looks like Vincent RV Life, who sent a question in, is checking in from warm Florida. Kevin Coop out in Missouri. Two Feathers down in Havasu. Is Eric with you tonight? Hi, Eric. Oh, hey, Sam Allen. Good to see you, Sam. Did you end up getting those SOK batteries? Question mark. Round Town Scouter checking in from Carlsbad. David Cockrell's in. Tom Downey. All balloon flights have been canceled until further notice. Yeah. Hey, you gotta laugh. Now everybody's worried about that they were UFOs. I cannot laugh enough about that one. Jim Bertrand is in. Jim, where are you? You're not in Winnipeg. I think, are you down south somewhere? Warming up your bones? Jim says it's always you're in Quartzsite. Okay, I should have read on. Perfect, David. Yeah, David and I have been chatting back and forth for a while on his inverter, but he says he got it replaced and everything is working great. So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, the snow that you got yesterday's here today, Tom. EJ says, knock wood, no snow. Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine, Sally, who lives in New York, and she was saying that how mild the winter had been there. Scott Mogich is in. He says, no to snow or I have to plow it. Yeah. Like I said, I had to shovel twice today. So as always, if you have a question, throw it over in the chat window. Super happy to try to answer your question. And or if you're shy, you can always email them to me, trbolin@gmail.com. That's TRBOWLIN @gmail.com. And if it's a good question, then I usually try to share it. One of the things that we are going to be talking about tonight, as promised, was the difference in how lithium and lead acid batteries charge. So that's to come up. But I thought what I would do is start with Vincent's question. I got a slideshow, I think, here of some photos he sent me. Let me flip over here to the other screen. And I think it's this one. Yeah, okay. So let me pause this for just a minute. This is his rear duals. And he was mentioning that this tube goes to the other tire on your rear duals. You mean that there is only one inflation point on your rear duals? I could see that, but that looks like a valve stem. and I can see the hose there. It looks like it does go across, kind of. That one caught me off guard. Um, so that hose, this braided line here, runs across to the other dual, Vincent slash Bruce. Yeah, I can definitely see it there. This piece looks like it's hanging free out there, and I'm not sure. Seeing that screw in there makes me a little nervous. In there between the tires. I mean, it doesn't look like it could cause too much trouble, but clearly that's meant to be mounted somewhere, and it looks like it may have come off or something. I'm not sure, but I can see that's just an extension tube there, and then that's down in there. So anyway, let me run over here to the chat stream. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have voice? Are you hearing me? I might be talking to myself. It looks like I got voice. Check test. All right. Well, let's see here. I'll come back over here to the opening. To there. Okay. Could you guys hear me while I was doing that? Sometimes when I set up these scenes, I forget to add microphones to them, and so you get there and look at the pictures, but you don't get to hear me speak. I apologize for that. Voice is good. Was it good when I had the picture of the tires up, Sam? Thanks, bud. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. So anyway, yeah, Bruce is what his email implied was that it looks like the braided hose is traveling over to the inner wheel. Not sure how that all works. I'm thinking that one TPMS will monitor both tire pressures, is what he was saying. Okay, cool. So, okay, you only saw the one valve stem. Here's my recommendation, and that is go to the tire shop, ask them to install new valve stems on the rear duals, so that you can get your TPMS on, and you can fill them from the outside rim, both individually. I don't Both tires individually. So I think you want to monitor both tires, because I don't know why they would have those two lines tied together. I mean, I suppose they could have. Like Jim was just saying here, I see that. It looks like an equalizer system which only requires one TPMS. But how do you monitor the temperature in the other tire? I mean, part of the TPMS is temperature pressure monitoring system. And the temperature is as important, if not more important, than the actual pressure. Because sometimes what will happen is that if the tire's going low, it may not be below the alarm point, but the temperature will be rising on that tire. And it seems to me like you would want to monitor both tires individually. But Bruce, you say that you're not sure if there's two valve stems or one, if they're connected inside. It's really hard to tell from the pictures. So I think in the school bus for sure it would have been set up that way. But Jim, the weight can be different on the two tires, is I guess my point. And yes, good one, Tom. Make sure that the valve stems are metal. That's a great point, Jim, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but my point is that temperature is as important as pressure, and the weight on those tires is going to be slightly different. I suppose that 1 point On the semi trailer, yes, actually, and the semi trailers usually have on frame inflation, so they're automatically inflated by the truck. Um, and yeah, you're right. It is common on semi trailers. Um, I don't know. I would defer to the crowd, but my thought is just run to the tire store when you get home. Ask them to bust those wheels off, take the tires apart, and put metal valve stems in. They come in all kinds of different lengths. You should be able to get it so that they stick out through the holes in your wheels. Let me run back over to the picture. Yeah, so you should be able to, so that the stem will come through the hole in the wheel. Keep doing that. And I think it would be better to monitor the two tires independently. Uh, that's just my opinion. I've known to be wrong. But yeah, and Tom says, and fix the screw. Totally agree. And that's a good point, Eric. Two feathers commenting for Eric. He says that it could be the tires are misaligned with each other, so the inside tire stem is not visible. Absolutely correct. Um, absolutely correct. If you got a small hand, sometimes it depends on the size of the hole. You can get inside that hole and trace that hose out or feel that. But if you can't see that, if you can't figure that out, I think it's just a good idea to go have it looked at anyway. Let's see. That was a 20. Remind me how old that your rig is, Bruce slash Vincent. Okay, let's see here. Okay, everybody's hearing me fine. Two Feathers says louder for me. I have crappy speakers. And for me, it's just I have burned out my ears over the years. Okay, I'm just checking that. Certain valve stems are metal, yeah. Common on many semi, yeah. Current valve stems are metal, good deal. Fix the screw. Okay, Jim has the equalizer system with only one TPMS. Robert Black. Hi, Robert. So glad to see you here tonight. Joni Portwood. Oh, yes, thanks, Joni. How's yours coming up north there? I believe Joni, I think it's Joni. I'm pretty good about remembering, folks, but I think it's Joni who's working on an S&S truck camper, and they're up in North Idaho. I think that's you guys. Remind me if I'm incorrect. But thank you, Joni. It is coming along nicely, except we're coming right up on the end. I think I have I might have 4 more videos of work on the truck camper before I shut down last fall because my dad was ill, and my I mean, sorry, I'm at the point where I'm ready to put the siding on. So I've got the insulation in. Those videos will be coming up shortly. I fixed the jack bolts. There's another jack bolt video coming up. 2017 Thor 4 wins. Okay, thanks, Vincent. Yeah, yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea. How old are those tires? Because those tires might be coming up on time to replace too. They would be 6 years old now if they haven't been replaced. Let's go see if we got lucky and we can see a tire date marking on them. Hang on a second here. Let me just run over here and look at it here. So let's see. No, can't quite see the tires. Oh, there's one right there I can see. Nope, can't quite see the tires. Yeah, but yeah, it might be worth. Okay, Tim just shared a picture with me. Yeah, that's the way I had mine set up. Let me pop this over here so you folks can see it too. And we'll make this go here. Maybe. Oh, right there. There we go. I'll move me over here. So if you look real close in there, there's one of his TPMSs from the outside dual, and from the inside dual he's using a stainless steel braided extension, which is works pretty good. So thanks for sending that, Tim. Appreciate that. We'll go back over here. They are 6-year Michelin. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't like. I tend to agree with Tom. I don't like the hoses, but when push comes to shove, they work okay. You just got to make sure you keep them all tight. Send Eric. It's actually. I don't know if I can send those right now. Okay, we'll. Let me see here. I pulled those out of email and I put them into my program here, and I don't want to take the 10 minutes it'll take to get them out and get them sent to you, Tim. We'll take another quick look at them here because I can kind of stop them. Okay, that's the second photo. Then we can kind of see it there disappearing. And then no valve cap on that one. Right, I don't see a valve cap on that one. This hose here just goes to the other side. What I'm curious about is that if this is there a filler? Is there a filler buried somewhere else in there? How come we're not seeing the fill side of it? I mean, this would be the equivalent of the stainless steel braided line that Tim has on his, and then I used stainless steel braided lines for a couple of years, and then I went and had solid stems put in. All right, I want to get over to the other topic here, and that is the difference between lead acid and lithium batteries and how they charge. And so what I did was I went and did a little bit of an illustration here. Let me pop this up, get the screens in the proper configuration. And I think everybody can see that. Everybody can see that okay? Yeah, it looks pretty good. And so what I've done is that I prepared an animation of basically I'm calling it the lithium battery charging profile. And what I want to do is I want to point out my assumptions here, okay? So that's important. I marked this, I'm sorry, that's a typo. That's a 12-volt lithium battery. I'm using a 100 amp hour charger, a 1C charge rate, 100 amp hour battery, a 1C charge rate, and a 50 amp charger. And so with lithium batteries, what you'll get is that, and this is standard of the bulk charge cycle, the cycle we're looking at right here, okay, on this part of the charge profile. And the bulk charge usually only lasts an hour, maybe a few minutes more. But what you get is that you'll get a rapid rise, this is voltage, to the charging voltage. In the case of the lithiums, I elected to make it 14.4. And then the amperage here is the red line, okay? And that's full 50 amps. And so what will happen is that when the batteries first start to charge, the charger will send 50 amps, but it may not be able to make 14.4 volts for a bit, right? So this is a typical profile that you'll see. It'll creep up there and eventually it'll hit about 14.4 volts. And then it will sit there and it'll bulk charge for a while until it reaches some percentage of the charge recovered, okay? And that number is usually around 50 to 70%. And then it proceeds along until it reaches about 90 to 95% of charge capacity of the stated charge is roughly 90 to 95%, where you'll see that here the amperage continues to decrease gradually, but the voltage stays the same, and then the voltage and the amperage excuse me, will float out to around, and this number here varies, 13.5 amps or 3.5 amps. That can fluctuate up and down a little bit because you might have some load running inside. Now, if we go over and we look at the lead acid battery, let me let's see. Is it? For some reason, my graph isn't complete here. I've got something going on, but we'll fix that in a minute. This is the same profile, except this is for lead acid, and I'll just pull ahead here. You can see that this red line in this case is the state of charge. Okay, the yellow line is our voltage. You'll note that I have it set to around 14.2 for the lead acid. Again, it starts with 50 amps full charge. Gradually tapers off. Okay, so this section of the graph represents the bulk charge. This section of the graph represents the absorption. And then we get up here towards the end. This is the float area. Again, we'd be running about 13.6 volts here, roughly somewhere around 2 to 3 amps. Now they pretty much look the same until I bring you over here and we look at both of these charts together. I'm going to look at this one. What I want you to note is the absorption area here, how much larger it is than it is over here for the lithiums. Okay, I've mentioned this several times when we've talked about charging batteries, and one of the factors about lithiums is oftentimes they will limit the absorption charge time, some to around an hour and a half. It depends on your battery type or your battery manufacturer, and so it's important to run down and look up the specifications from your battery manufacturer to figure out what your settings should be. But let me pull this over here so you can see how on a lead acid battery your absorption time could be as much as 3 hours, 4 hours, depending upon how far discharged your battery was. Whereas in a lead acid battery, excuse me, in a lithium battery, whoops, come on, there we go. In the lithium battery, that absorption charge cycle is much shorter, and in fact, they do charge quite a lot faster. All right. So that's the difference in the way that a lead acid battery charges versus a lithium battery. Now, we've talked about this before. Most chargers, just a minute here, there we go. Most chargers, well, let's say chargers that are 2000, the year 2000 and newer, from companies like Xantrex, Magnum, some of those. My casual review of those has been that they have adjustable settings so that you can accommodate lithium batteries. And Kevin and I have had a nice discussion offline this week too, and I've agreed that I need to clean up my language on charger inverters, converters, and so I tend to refer to an inverter when I really mean to say an inverter charger. Okay? I'm used to that being the setup for, and that's what I will almost always recommend if you're replacing your inverter. Go the extra dollars and get an inverter charger. Okay? Then there are inverters, and the Jaycos we were chatting about with the fellow from Canada last week has an inverter and a charger, actually a converter. And what the converter does is it changes 110 power into 12 volt power. And the inverter, obviously, as we well know, it does the opposite, churns 12 volt power into 110 power. I personally feel like it's a lot more efficient and a lot easier to manage if the inverter is an inverter charger. Okay? So live with what you have today if you have an inverter and a converter. But in the future, if you have to replace your inverter, go ahead and spring for the few extra dollars it costs to get the inverter charger. You can expect to probably spend somewhere between $100 to $200, which is what the cost of the converter would be anyway. And then if that converter ever fails, you can throw it away because you've got an inverter charger, you've got everything you need right there. All right. I'm not sure. I guess maybe it's for convenience, and I'm not sure the engineering mindset why you would want an inverter and a converter, okay, over an inverter charger. Inverter charger is one device. Inverter converter is two devices. And it feels like to me that it would be more efficient to have one device. It gives you one point of management. And the newer inverter chargers have very nice monitoring systems available for them, right? So Bluetooth, widgets that live on your phone. I mean, that's one of the beauties of Victron. Renogy has the same system if you buy the right parts and pieces. Sorry, I was just getting a bunch of emails here. I just want to make sure that they weren't, okay, it wasn't anything coming in from a viewer. So anyway, let me run over here and I'll just touch on my email. So in the future, I'll try to make sure that when I'm speaking about inverters, that I specify an inverter charger versus an inverter versus a converter. All right. So those of you guys that are here all the time, keep me online on that. Keep me in line on that. Appreciate your help. Okay, let me just look over here and see what we got. Hi, Sam. Yeah, absolutely, Sam. Shoot. Any questions you want to ask, go right ahead. Just throw it in the comment there, the chat there, and we will answer it if we can. And if not, we'll find out and get back to you. Gary just had a 26. Took the. Okay, so we're still chatting a little bit about Vincent RV Life's tires on his rig. Let me come back over here and go back to that. So let me just get this right. I want to make sure I am understanding this situation here. This valve stem that we're seeing right here with no cap, is that a T somewhere in there? Does that braided line come up and connect to that somewhere back in there hidden underneath that we can't see? Because I'm not sure I understand how where this line's going. I mean, this is coming from, it looks to me like the inside tire and going to the outside tire. Let me zoom this out a little bit. Okay, so this to me looks like, I mean, we're seeing this here. Now, is that to me looks like it's attached to the tire or to the other tire, or is that a valve stem and this is just laying in there loose? Because that maybe is what's causing my confusion. I hadn't noticed that looked like a valve cap, but I get what you were saying now, Tim, that it looked like a valve stem cap. And I guess it does look a little bit like a valve stem cap. So if that's just laying in there, or is that connected to something else, Bruce? Let me pop over here to the comments, and I'll just keep bouncing back and forth. Oh yeah, good call, Kevin. That bracket and screw are to clamp it on the wheel. It's the inner wheel and has a black cap on it. Need to pull it out. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. That the inner clamp fell off the wheel, so that um, this here is a clamp that holds it. And so what I'm thinking is probably this screw pulled through this piece of metal here, right? I mean that's let's just zoom up on that even more, and let me just make sure that you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, yeah, it looks like you are. Yeah, to me it looks like maybe this self tapper has pulled through from the other side, and that's why it's sitting there all the way through and not attached to anything. Okay, this is starting to make a little more sense now that we think about this. Let me pull this down here, get this down here to where it's full size. Yeah, okay. So the first question I have is this hose here attached to anything on the outer tire? And I know we have a fair amount of latency depending upon when you join. So I'll flip back and forth here real quick. Run back, run back over here. Why do I keep doing that? Yeah, Tom Downey says when you have a complete Victron system, it becomes automatic. Read it all on the phone. Exactly. Absolutely true, Jim. All converters are chargers, but not all inverters have chargers. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good plan. Jim says that his converter charger failed, so he bought a new converter charger that automatically switches for lead acid, AGM, or lithium. How does it know what battery's there? I mean, electrically, I don't know how you could tell if it was lithium versus lead acid just by reading the voltage of the battery, unless you read it when it was fully charged. I don't know. That's curious. I wonder how that works. Tim Meyer says converters are what were provided. Excuse me. Before charging inverters, huh? Interesting. It could be an equalizer, yes, too. Jim Bertrand, Class A units have inverter chargers, but all trailers and Class C units I've seen only have converter chargers. To operate 110 in those units, you have to be plugged into short power or install an inverter. Yeah, that's true. Let's see. Let me think about that. uh, Vincent RV Life. Bruce says he's not sure where it's connected. To me, that this hose that we were looking at. So I don't think you're running an equalizer system. Now that I've had a chance to look at these pictures, okay, because that does look like you know, that does look like the picture that Tim sent us. Okay, braided stainless steel hose that comes from the inside dual. Right, this is just coming inside. This is a clamp, and in fact, if you look right here, you can see where it was clamped on the wheel, I think. Look how it's been rubbed right here. Okay, let me just double check my sources here. Okay, we're good. So if that's the case, then well, let's see. I think it was it this picture? No, this picture. So yeah, what you're going to run into, uh, Bruce, Vincent, what you're going to run into. I'm going to pop this over here. Actually, I'm going to flip screens now because I think I'm through And that way I can actually look this way and read the comments. Um, on the outside dual with the small stem, the one I'm showing on the screen right now, um, when you get the TPMS on there, it's going to be really hard to fill that tire. Okay, there's not going to be a lot of room because it's going to stick off a ways, and there's not going to be a lot of room to get underneath that and get on it and fill it, which is one of the reasons why I was suggesting that it might be a good idea to just, when you get home, go to your tire shop, ask them to put some metal stems on that turn a 90 degree and bring those those fill points outside the dual, and that way you've got easy access to your TPMS and easier access to fill those tires. You're probably you're probably going to be, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks for the tire shop to demount those tires and put the new valve stems in. But trust me, down the road you'll be happy that if everything is sticking out through the wheels and that you can get to it easily and fill them with air. I'm back to the comments here. Yeah, clamp, class A, okay. Actually, I think I saw the head there, Kevin. I think it probably just pulled through the metal. Kevin says self-tapper probably broke the head off. I think we could see the head on it. Let's see, I think it was... Yeah, let me zoom this up here a little bit. Yeah, I think I can kind of see the head on there. But it looks like it might have pulled through. Either way, it doesn't matter. This clamp looks like it clamped right here. If I look at the, approximate the size of this clamping surface, it looks like it clamped right there. I mean, this rim's a little rusty, but it doesn't look like it's had anything clamped on it like this one, where you can kind of see there's a couple spots where you can sort of imagine where the corners of that clamp were crushed in, clamping onto the tire there. I'm going to stick with my original statement and say I think your best bet is when you get home back to South Carolina to go to the tire store, have them pull those tires apart, put some solid metal valve stems in them, have them come out through the rims so you can easily get on them. When you get your TPMS on that inside one with the little short one, you're going to have a hell of a time filling those tires, trust me. So I think that's what I would do. You're going to be a lot happier with it down the road. Tim Myers wants to know, Jim, what converter you bought. Okay, Brian. Hi, Alan. He says he just started his S&S camper remodel. It's got the stable lift as well, and the manufacturer lives down the road from me. Is that cool? So you were up in, let's see, where were they? They are in, not Missoula, they were in Polson. Is it Polson? Where is S&S? I don't remember right off the top of my head, but that's awesome. They don't make those campers anymore. They do nothing but, camp, not truck camper. Well, they have camper shells, right? That's what they manufacture there now. Let's see. I want to come back because Joni had submitted a comment. Her fiberglass sided Coachman truck camper has block foam insulation, but hardly any wall studs. The 69 Coachman, someone wants to give me $50 for it. Huh. Joni says, I need to get rid of one of them, but I hate to see the 69 get scrapped by someone. The 69 Coachman was the classic built, stick built like mine, and the fiberglass one. It's not that uncommon for the fiberglass shells to be have very little framing because the fiberglass is pretty structural, and then the polyiso block foam actually gives a little bit of stability there, and then when you get the inside walls in, they get pretty stable. They'll be they'll be framing in that wall for things that need to be mounted to it, I guess is the way they build those. Sorry, Joni, I didn't mean to scan over that so fast. I'm just scanning the. Okay, let's see. Third picture has a count that. Class A. Okay, I'm catching up. Joni says, I bought an IOTA 30 amp converter charger. Interesting. Okay. And Vincent says they now have converters that say automatic detect. Interesting. I'm going to have to go research that, figure out how they work. Okay. Oh, wait a minute here. I forgot to do my cheap plug. If you're liking this video, be sure and give me that thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Ring the notification bell. Happy to have you along for the ride. A visit over to my website, trbullen.com, is always greatly appreciated, as is your support of the channel through my Amazon store. There's a link in the description of the video. Remember, as an Amazon affiliate, I get a small commission, but you pay the same price. And yeah, trust me, every little bit helps. Tell your friends too, by the way. Okay, so excuse me, just 1 second here. Okay, let's see here. I am trying to catch up here. Alan, I'm so happy to have you along. I think you'll find that the video series is going to be very helpful to you. And if you get stuck on something, don't hesitate to ask a question. I'm more than happy to help. Vincent says a trip to the tire store is definitely in the future. Excellent. Yeah, Tim, you just need to get that flexible hose out and put a clamp on it. Jim was commenting, I think an inside dual was installed on the outside, so now the braided hose is facing the wrong direction. That could very well be too. But I think actually, Jim, I think after we studied it here, I think we got her figured out. Jim says it was a WFTO 9865AD. Tom Downey makes a good point. Yeah, then make sure that they mount the tires one hole off, so when they're aligned, that the stem from the rear tire doesn't come out the same hole as the tire with the for the the whether inside or outside dual. Make sure they're off one hole. Kalispell, thanks, Alan. Sucks to get old. Julie Strauss says, this is the first time I've been able to catch me live. Thank you for doing this. Thank you. What are your thoughts on soft starts for AC units? Well, I think they're super handy if you're going to be doing any off-grid camping. Okay? I love how everybody's gone to off-grid instead of boondocking. To me, it's always been boondocking or dry camping. But now the buzzword is off-grid. So if you're going to be running your ACs off your batteries, off-grid, then they're absolutely required. Okay? If you're living in RV parks, campgrounds with good 110 power, I don't know that you really need them. Oh, I see what your reason is. Okay, read on. Julie says, I have a 110 access and would love to run the AC for just a pit to keep the high heat out of the camper while in storage in my driveway. It might work as long as you're only running one air conditioner. The air conditioners usually pull around 15 amps. In a pinch, you can get 15 amps off a standard 110 extension cord. What I would actually rather see you do, Julie, is get a larger gauge extension cord, okay? So go to Home Depot, spend a few extra dollars, and get a larger gauge extension cord, one with bigger wires in it. Most of your typical extension cords are going to be 14, sometimes 16 gauge. And for why that is that the longer the power has to travel on the wire, the bigger the wire needs to be. Okay? And since we're using it on an AC, that's going to be pulling about the maximum amount of power that you can put on a circuit breaker from an outlet in your garage. All right. And so what I'm worried about is that the cable, if it's a inexpensive 14 gauge, sorry, hang on. If it's an inexpensive 14 gauge extension cord, oh good, I see that. You do have a high amperage cord. Great. She's not going to be doing any boondocking, no worries. 26-foot camper. It's a 30 amp camper. Excellent. Just household. Okay, gotcha. Okay, all right. Okay, we're catching up. Good question there, Julie. I'm going to go back to what I said. You got the high amp cord. That's good. If you could, I don't want to get too complicated. You should be okay. The typical household outlet is 15 amps. Sometimes, in some cases, you might find a 20 amp outlet, okay, in the house. But if all you're running is the AC, it's going from the garage. How far is it from the garage to the camper? Just curiosity wise. You should be okay. You're going to be right on the edge. I don't know if a soft start would be required in that case because circuit breakers are designed to act and give you just that little bit more power when an electric motor starts. So they don't trip instantaneously. Some do, okay? But most of your household circuit breakers won't, even if you're right at the top of the range of that circuit breaker. So if you're pulling full 15 amps off that circuit breaker, it's not good to do that for a long extended amount of time. But what the soft starters do is that they allow a little bit of extra energy to be stored at the air conditioning unit, and that is drawn on to help get that motor going, because it takes a little bit of extra juice to get that motor going. Julie says 75 feet. And Tim, yeah, I agree with Tim. Run it and see if the breaker trips. And yeah, that's a good point, Kevin. You shouldn't have a freezer or a fridge in the garage on the same circuit as your AC. Because what might happen is it might trip. You might forget about it. And you'll come out and you'll find your fridge or your freezer thawing because it's on the same circuit as the camper. At 75 feet, you're going to be right on the edge, Julie. Okay? You're going to be right on the edge of this working. I think it'll probably work, but I think you're going to be right on the edge of it working properly without tripping, because 75 feet is a long ways to go on an extension cord. But if it doesn't work, then you might have to have a 20 amp circuit installed. And frankly, if you're going to have a 20 amp circuit installed, just go and have the 30 amp circuit installed. Okay? mean, it's going to be about the same amount of money to get an electrician out to your house, unless you know somebody that can do the electrical work. Installing a new outlet isn't rocket science. I wouldn't advise it if you've never been into a breaker panel. Don't go there. But yeah, if you can find somebody, otherwise call an electrician. You might be $300 or $400 to get the a 30 amp installed. They'll be able to stick it on the outside of the garage, put it closer to your camper, so you don't have as long of an extension cord, that kind of stuff. And I would say yes, Julie. Most people just keep them in the heat and don't worry about it. With it being at your house, what I would say is that why don't you just go out and open a couple windows and open up one of the vents in the top on the hottest days. If there's any chance of it raining, of course, you want to go out and close your windows up. But yeah, I just don't. I mean, you're going to be right on the edge, I think, of it working without tripping the breaker. 75 feet's a long ways to go to pull full 15 amps on even a high heavy duty cord. It could work, but yeah, if it was me, I think hopefully you don't have too many hot days. But yeah, I think most people don't worry about it. But if you're really concerned about it, and heat inside does cause things to, it causes your upholstery to dry out and causes the wall coverings and whatever else to dry out. So the heat is can be a bit of a problem. Okay, hopefully we got you answered there, Julie. Kevin says it'll trip if both are running. Don't ask how we know. I think we know how we know because I've been there. Okay, Sam says, okay, my rather long question, several posts. Sorry to hijack the chat. That's why we're here, Sam. So don't sweat it. Happy to have you along. And we'll stay as long as it takes to get all the questions answered. Okay, used his DSDP for an office over COVID, work from home. Front AC heat pump gave up, cannot recharge. Yeah, it's the old sealed units. He says, I cannot seem to find a specific recommendation on what is exactly is needed for replacement. Dometic Penguin 2 seems to be leading candidate, but old 5-button thermostat cannot directly manage that unit. If I change to newer thermostat, I still have an old dual therm on the rear. Sam says, I've also read that the plenum design may be different in newer units compared to the old 2001 Dutch Star, so I may need some sort of adapter. Those adapters generally are readily available, by the way, Sam. Tried contacting Newmar, but service center no longer directly answer questions. Have any thoughts or recommendations? Okay. If you have two different AC types, that you're going to have to probably end up with two thermostats. Okay? Because actually, the way that those are wired, I know this for a fact because when I replaced my roof, I marked my cables, and I remember this distinctly, is that the thermostat to the front AC is normal copper wire. Then from the front AC to the rear AC is twisted pair, RJ11. Sam will know what I'm talking about. He's an IT guy. So it's twisted pair RJ11. That's how the two units communicate together. Then in the bedroom, usually in the back, by the window to the left, there's a little white widget on the wall. That's your remote thermostat. That thermostat is attached to that unit in the back. Excuse me, that thermostat or that temperature sensor runs up to the front. So that old 5-button probably won't work because there is a communication line between the front and the rear AC that is on silver satin, on RJ11 type wire. So I think you're probably going to end up with two thermostats until you end up having to replace the rear unit. Now, with that said, 13,000. What color is your rig, Sam? Remind me what color your rig is. If it's a dark color, then get a 15,000 BTU unit. If it's a lighter color, get a 13,500. 13,500 BTUs is probably what was up there. And the Domestic Penguin seems to be pretty good. They seem like really solid units. There's 1,000,000,000 of them out there. But and Dometic, they've been in the AC business, for years on RVs, and so I don't think you could go bad with Dometic. If you'd like to save a couple coins, I do have an affiliate link for RecPro, who's a large national RV parts distributor, and you'll save a few coins there if you use the link in the description. And then type in my name, TR Bolin, at checkout. You'll save a few coins, and I'll get a little bit something too. But yeah, I think the Dometics are good units, Sam. And what I don't get is you contacted Newmar, but they not directly answer questions. Why the hell have a service center? The plenum in the 2001s, I can't say exactly for sure. I know the 2004 were square thin. You could go to my roof video. There's 4 roof videos on my channel. Actually 5. There might be 6. But there's, and I believe if you went to episode 1 and or episode later in episode 2, when I start to replace the sheathing, you're going to be able to see the plenum ducting from the top. Now remember, I had an 04, and I don't know that they would have changed the ducting that much. Let's see, Tom has an 04. Okay, so Sam, I hope we got your question answered. If you have a follow-up, came with 15,000 BTU heat pumps. It was before full body paint standard option, so mostly fiberglass with decals. Okay, yeah. Then the 15,000 BTU is what you want to stick with for sure. And I think those Dometics are just fine. Julie says, okay, let me just go back here because I kind of jumped ahead. Let me just look over. Extension cord is glowing. May or may not know how you know that. Okay. Do people just keep them in the heat? Yes. Actually, Julie, if you're going to go to the expense, it might be worth investing in a small dehumidifier to keep in it in the summer. That will help to keep the air dry. And then if you get one that has an external, has a built-in pump, you can just run the hose out a window, and that way the condensate from the dehumidifier will just run out on the ground. Yeah, it's just the expense. I totally get that. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. You're moving into further away, and we'll install 30. Gotcha. Yeah, sure, Julie. I'm happy. So humidity is nasty. Yeah, you get kid. Great. Tim, the problem is not with the refrigerant on those. Is that it's a sealed unit. There is no provision for recharging them. Now there are companies that can rebuild them, like with the fridges, because technically the Dometic fridges, the absorption style fridges, are sealed units as well and are not rechargeable, but there are companies out there that can do that. I don't know any in the Pacific Northwest, Sam, that are doing the AC the AC refurbishment. And most HVAC guys won't touch it because they don't want to guarantee them. But yeah, it's not so much the refrigerant. R12 is, there are analogs that are out there. I wish Randy was here tonight. Randy Waller, who's an HVAC guy. But yeah, they're sealed units. They're built not to be refilled. Tom Downey has commented, Newmar has dropped many of their services unless you have a warranty. Yeah, what did you expect when Winnebago bought them? I mean, come on. You know, I used to be able to call in, and as I'm sure you did, and probably Sam in the past, with anything that had a Newmar label on it, and they'd help you out, even a fifth wheel from the '90s. But yeah, Winnebago. Alrighty, so let me just see what we got going on here. Julie gets someone to take an ampere reading with AC running over 12 amps. She'll have problems if it's under 12. Plug it in and let her rip. Yeah, that's a good suggestion too. Yeah, it's not good to run it right at the top of a circuit breaker's capacity, 15 amps, for long periods of time. It's just not a good practice. But, you know, if you're going to just run it long enough to chill it, cool it off a little bit. But, yeah, I don't know if I'd worry about it too much. Nice. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, you do keep a dehumidifier in there. Excellent. Okay, good. You're welcome, Bruce. Vincent RV Life. Kevin Coop says R12 is liquid gold. I've heard that. Yeah, Julie, find somebody, if you got somebody that could do the outlet for you and it's just a matter of money, they may have a clamp on amp meter that they could throw on that and see how many amps it's pulling. It's not difficult at all to do. That sounds good, Julie. Okay, so since there's a little bit of latency, we're just gonna chill here for a minute. We're right around 8 o'clock. I usually try to keep these to about an hour. I want to say happy Valentine's, everybody. I'm so happy that you all decided to join me tonight. Um, Thanks, Sam. Thanks. By the way, I think if you see a LinkedIn come from me, Sam, I think you got suggested to me for some reason through LinkedIn here within the last week, and I might have ignored it. Not that I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I think it's probably because of our similar IT backgrounds, but I may throw a LinkedIn um, um, at you just to say hey. But yeah, you're welcome, Sam. I'm so glad you came back, and thanks for letting us know that you went ahead and just went with AGMs. I totally get where you're at. All right, so last call for questions. Let me go check the email, make sure something didn't sneak in on me while I wasn't watching. Okay, we got Tim's. Okay, we got that. All right. Okay. Anything else? Joni says, if I were to rebuild another camper, would consider a fiberglass one? Yes. I would also either do a traditional one. If I was you, Joni, how long do you plan on keeping the camper after you rebuild it? Question mark. And we'll hang here for a minute because I know there's some latency. I mean, I don't usually recommend other YouTube channels, but there's a kid up in Oregon. His name is Jonathan Yinch. I think that's how he says it. Yentch. But he just started rebuilding a fiberglass camper, similar um, in construction to what you're talking about, Joni. Thanks, Kevin. So thanks so much for. Oh, hey, thanks, Sam. Great. I'll follow you back. Uh, Good night, Kevin. Thanks for joining. I would go with fiberglass, Joni. I would go for sure with the fiberglass. Yes. Um, I think the fiberglass is going to be, a life unit. They're easier to maintain. The exterior is easier to maintain. They're easier to keep watertight. And Tim, I think Kevin did electrical project management. So you guys are of a similar background, for sure. The fiberglass, yeah, the fiberglass is contiguous. It's you had mentioned when in your was it email or a comment, um, that you sent me. I don't remember which one it was, but I do remember us chatting about this. You said corrugated, but the Toyota motorhome body was a continuous. Oh, it's not molded fiberglass. It has fiberglass sheets glued to it. Well, yeah, Tom's right. They went with fiberglass for a reason because it's a lot. Uh, it's easier to maintain. They're easier to keep dry. Um, so it's wood framed. Okay, so that stuff is called Luan. Uh, um no, it's called not Luan. It's called Phylon. Fiberglass over Luan. Okay, so that's a bastardization of two words. Luan or fiberglass over Luan, Phylon. And actually, that stuff is pretty good to work with. Um, Joni, if you'll send me some photos, do you have photos that you can send of both? Because really, what it comes down to is how much work it's going to take to get them recovered or to restored. If you're looking at something like mine, I'm going to be well into mine restoration, lasting at least a year. Even with the two winter breaks in there, my dad passing away in the middle of that, and everything else. So if you want to send me some photos, and we could chat a little bit more via email, I'm more than happy to try to help you make that decision, or at least give you some ideas. TRBowlin, BOWLIN, at gmail.com. And I'll look forward to your photos. Oh, look at that. Okay, so Kevin says Tim did ACAD, but most of his time was managing the design department. So I had others doing the CAD work. Yes, we did 3D. Been there, did PM of construction for electrical contractor. Thanks, Tim, for putting that in there. And by the way, guys, I started my career as a drafter. I ran the one of the first CAD systems. I ran the first CAD system at the INL. I ran the second CAD system for the Nuclear Navy, and I didn't do a lot of electrical. I did facilities, and I did civil, and that kind of stuff. In fact, I have AutoCAD 2004 architectural desktop that I bought a copy of in the early 2000s, back when I could still do house plans, and I used to crank out somewhere between 10, 15, and even sometimes some years 20 sets of house plans every year. But then most counties changed to where they required a PE stamp, and a lot of the architects in cahoots with the PEs quit stamping independent drafters like me's drawings, and so they basically forced us out of the business. Totally agree that 3D is fantastic and fun. I have a lot of 3D stuff. I actually have a 3D drawing of my camper. I have a 3D drawing of the house I built in 2000. And I have a 3D drawing of this house in AutoCAD. Right, enough of that. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget that thumbs up. Visit me on my website, trbolin.com. Support the channel by visiting Amazon through the links in the description. And next week, we'll be back with another episode. And if you have questions in the meantime, email them to me. And I look forward to seeing you guys here next week. Until then, peace. Good night, all. Bye.